Aaron's got to see this. Oh man, where is he? Aaron's dead, dude. What?
It's good to be back. Hey everyone. It's all right. I get it. First show of the term. Everybody's still getting into the swing of things.
I thought you died.
I did. But now I'm back.
What was that like?
Actually, it's pretty important that I tell you something because...
Oh, yeah, cool. Have you seen Nick?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that because...
Because we have a bit for him today, and it's, like, very important that we have him for as much time as possible, so if I could just find him, that would be really...
Not even curious how I got back here?
Not particularly. Was that something to do with finding Nick?
Well... How was my funeral, Brad?
When was that?
2 weeks ago, Brad.
You know, I had a thing, so I couldn't. Did you see Spider-Man?
I did, actually. It was one of the 3 movies I was allowed to watch while I was dead. The other 2 being Hereditary and Miscongeniality.
Put that on. Because you're doing the bit today. We can't find Nick, so...
Dude, you cannot keep making people wear this.
Sure I can. It's big enough. I mean, anyone can wear the mask, Aaron.
You take this seriously?
Sure.
I died and met God. For real. I met God, we made a trade, she showed me the end of all things. And the chain of events that brings it about is set in motion by this very show.
Uh-huh.
This is important. You have to make a decision. This show or the world?
Welcome to Stubtown. I'm one of your hosts, Brad Weber. As always, joined by the ultimate hater.
Aaron Clausen.
Today, what are we talking about, Aaron? What are we talking about today?
We're talking about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
What'd you think, Aaron? What'd you think of it?
I hated. No, I'm just kidding. I loved it. I thought it was the best movie of 2018.
Yeah, it was definitely the best movie of last year. Thank you for watching.
No, but seriously, hands down, I don't think that movie missed a beat at all.
Yeah, no, like, in this, we reviewed Venom earlier.
Yeah, it was fun.
Like, and like, there's Marvel movies coming out around it. You had like Infinity War last year and stuff, and Ant-Man.
They're good.
And like, those are fine movies, but I think Spider-Man like
set a new standard.
Yeah, for not just like superhero movies, but also
just animated movies in general.
Animated movies, Spider-Man movies. I really think that they did something really special here with this film.
Yeah, how do you release Spider-Man Far From Home after this?
Yeah, exactly. You know, like they released the trailer for that, like, what, like a couple weeks after this movie came out?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, this is so almost uninteresting. Like, even as a Spider-Man story, like...
I was like, ooh, cool, Jake Gyllenhaal. But Spider-Verse, though...
Yeah, exactly.
...was so good.
This review is just going to be us for like 20 minutes, like sitting here saying like, oh, it's so good.
You need it. Like, it was one of those things that I saw the trailer for, like, that teaser trailer with the Vince Sable song and everything. Looked super good. And I was like, yeah, I'll probably see this movie. I knew some other people that were like, yeah, I'll probably wait for renting it because, the same company that made the Emoji Movie is releasing a Spider-Man film. So it'll probably be bad. And then I went and saw it in theaters. And I was like, oh my gosh, everybody needs to see this movie in theaters.
I think I had a little more faith in it just because like Miller and Lord are behind it and stuff like that, like
I actually didn't know that until like the day before I saw it.
Like
so.
Lego Movie and 21 Jump Street, Clone High. Like they inspire a lot of faith in me and so I think I was I was expecting something special. In that first trailer they put out or whatever, when they first showed the animation of like Miles running and jumping on off the car, and
It looked
like,
immaculate.
in that shot of him falling upside down, which is still like, even though it's in the trailer and it was there in the lead up for like half a year before the movie came out, that shot is still like goosebump inspiring in the film.
Yeah, that's probably one of the best shots of the year.
Yeah.
Not only is this like the best movie of the year, it has like some of just the best moments of the year.
So if we're talking about like visuals and stuff, we should probably just talk about the animation style and stuff like that.
This was such a unique movie. Like, I've never seen something like, I've seen the whole Pixar style of animation. I've seen like the Illumination and Sony animation stuff before, and I was like, I'm not a huge fan of that 3D art. And then there's like been a movement away from the 2D animation, so I'm kind of just stuck with like stop motion. I'm like, oh, this is a cool form of or medium for animation. But then Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse came out.
And I think it's really interesting because it is a 3D animated film, but they implore a lot of like 2D like technique and stuff like that, like smears and
like
stuff like
all
that.
The background too, like a lot of the background is kind of flat. It's still colorful, but like as far as like dimensions, it's kind of flat, which really makes the 3D characters pop.
And it's totally not even just like an aesthetic choice either. It also like lends itself to the story of the thing, and just like, this isn't really spoiler, what happens like the first 5 minutes, but Miles is bit by a spider, right? And after he's bit by a spider, like the comic book aesthetic of the thing becomes, speech bubbles appear and thought boxes and stuff like that. Like it's really special.
Yeah, I had seen stuff like Watchmen, where Zack Snyder just puts like comic book frames into a screen, and I'm like, that's cool. I've seen some,
Ang Lee's Hulk does that.
Yeah, I've seen some like Warner Brothers animated comic book movies that are good, and I'm like, this is probably the closest we'll ever get to comic books being just slapped right onto the big screen. I was way wrong, because this is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Like they even apply like the dot like pattern over every frame, and you don't even really notice it, but like it's there, and there's just so much care and detail like put into every aspect of this thing, from the visuals to the story to the soundtrack even, which is like,
this whole movie was made by nerds.
Yeah, exactly. Like people who actually cared about what they were making.
For sure.
It's really interesting, like on Twitter and stuff, like Disney doesn't seem to really do this, but like Sony has like kind of given their artists like free reign to like, here, post your work in progress stuff, like post all that. Like it's really interesting to like look at that stuff too. There's a really great book, The Art of the Spider-Verse or whatever. Yeah. Really fantastic stuff on that. And like Daniel Pemberton, the guy who did the music for this, like you see his whole process for making that soundtrack.
Before we go into the soundtrack, what do you think of the other styles of animation that were kind of thrown in there?
So, if you've seen the trailers, there's 3 other characters. 2 of them are really the only like diversion from the actual style. Nick Cage's character is in black and white, but ultimately he's still
in that 3D, like 3D pop art kind of animation. I
think Spider-Ham looked fine for what he was. I thought he was funny and whatever.
He looked like a Looney Tunes cartoon.
He looked like a Looney Tunes cartoon. I thought that Penny Parker though like didn't look great. Like I love this movie so much that like I have to pick such small things to like critique about it. Yeah. But I think that like Penny Parker in particular, who like I kind of have issues with, like as her character was done, like as an adaptation of her, but like she didn't really look like anime. She didn't really like, it just kind of, she looked kind of flat and out of place in the thing, I think.
Yeah, it was like, it was made to look kind of in an anime fashion, but it was still, it was like a weird combination between that and still like the Peter Porker
because she
cartoon.
And like she was a 3D model.
Stuck on it, yeah.
So like, it just didn't kind of look right. And like, that's probably one of the worst criticisms I can lob against this movie is like, one of the characters didn't look right. So I don't know.
Even then though, she's still kind of like,
you get it.
Yeah.
Like you get the joke.
She almost had like a Teen Titans anime filter thrown over there.
But there was no lines or anything on it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just she looked like a Flash animation. I think is probably the best way I can put it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Other than that, I thought the animation was super cool.
It's fantastic. I went and saw it multiple times just to see it. Like,
oh yeah, I mean, it's like one of those things where I was like, I need everyone to see this in theaters. Like, you need to see it on a huge screen just to appreciate all the like minute details in the animation. I mean, I'll watch it at home too, but if I could just always watch it on a huge screen, I would love to.
If I died today, my wisdom that I'd impart to all of you is that you go see Spider-Man, please. It's so fantastic.
Yeah, and it's not like, I mean, it is definitely making money.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like,
I think it made like 300 million or something like that.
But it wasn't like the huge box office like blow up that it should have been.
Venom made more money?
Yeah, Venom made like 3 times the amount of money.
That's a crime. I think Venom's a garbage movie.
We go check out our Venom review.
I love it, but
it's trash you want to play in.
Garbage.
Now moving into the soundtrack.
Uh-huh.
What was your favorite song?
Well, you got like What's Up Danger on there, which is like, we'll talk about that in the spoiler section.
What's Up Danger is a banger.
It's a banger, Aaron says. But, you know, like, I just think it's like such a well done soundtrack. Like, there are songs on there that are like original stuff about like Spider-Man, but it sounds like something Miles Morales would listen to, and at some points in the film he even is listening to this music, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I think it's such like, just like the animation, it doesn't just serve as like, here's a collection of bops we put together.
Here's a collection of bops
for you to listen to. It's like actually narratively and thematically like important to the thing
and incorporated. Yeah, they did a super good job of making a soundtrack that, you know, sounds like something a teenager in 2018, now 2019, would listen to.
Yeah.
Plus, they got like a ton of good artists on there. Post Malone song on there, Sunflower. Was that the one it's called?
Yeah.
That one will be stuck in my head for the rest of eternity.
It's really fantastic, and also because they play it multiple times.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's really great.
I think my favorite song though on there, surprisingly, was "Way Up" by Jaden Smith.
Yeah, the fact that like this movie can make me like a Post Malone song and a Jaden Smith song is like illegal, probably.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of messed up.
I was like, I like every song on this album.
Yeah, I never really skip it when I listen to the soundtrack, which I do often.
They're just good songs. They sound like songs people would listen to today, and guess what? People listen to them today.
So, if we're going to talk about What's Up Danger,
do you want to just move into
we should probably move into spoilers. So from here on out, spoilers. So the moment when Miles, the leap of faith moment, that's where we're starting spoilers. It's so fantastic. Like, it like speaks to why I really love Spider-Verse so much. It's because it's not just a good movie, it's also a really good Spider-Man adaptation.
Yeah.
And like understanding Peter Parker's motivation and understanding Miles' motivation and like the very distinct differences between the two things. Mm-hmm. Like understanding that Miles has like great expectations rather than great responsibility.
Yeah.
Is like it's such a fantastic like introduction for Miles into cinema, I guess.
Yeah, I was so happy that like once they announced, you know, we're doing a Spider-Man movie, it was about Miles, and I like how they throw in a whole bunch of aspects of Miles. It's not like, oh yeah, we have a black Spider-Man and we're gonna just use that. They actually showed that he was, you know, half Hispanic, half
yeah,
black.
Totally. Like, he's speaking Spanish with his family in his home and stuff like that. And like, even like the Spider-Man video game, which is like, this has been a great year for Spider-Man.
Oh yeah.
But like the Spider-Man video game, which has Miles in it. Not to get too much spoilery there, but like Miles is like kind of this like milquetoast kind of dude who just like
is like a cameo in the video game. Like, here,
yeah,
we'll throw this guy in.
Yeah.
Even though I love the video game, but
And you know, just seeing him treated with so much care here compared to something like that is really nice. So the moment though, like,
the leap of faith moment.
It's just, it gives me goosebumps every time I watch it because they uploaded it to Twitter pretty quickly after the movie came out or whatever.
He's just like standing there on the side of the building.
Like there's like nuance in every frame of the thing. Like when he jumps off the building, his fingertips stick to the window because he's nervous. Like,
yeah.
And they don't have to spell that out in this movie.
No, especially because it was shown earlier when he was like, man,
yeah,
I can't do this. And in Jake Johnson's Peter Parker, the like
schlubby 40-year-old,
the one that's kind of given up,
yeah,
is telling him that you just need to relax, and that's how you'll like unstick to things, and that shows that whole moment.
And they do this great mirroring because early on in the movie he jumps off a building or whatever, and it's got this awesome text like as he's falling, but then he goes,
hits a car.
He jumps off the building in the leap of faith scene, and he goes up, and the woo, like it is just such a joy to like see that scene.
It's probably one of the best films I've seen in a long time that incorporates like just true visual storytelling.
Exactly, yeah.
Like it never needs to spell things out for you unless it does spell things out for you, in which case it does it as a joke and like throws it right into your face with all the like, all right, here's the backstory on this Spider-Man. We're just gonna like run through this really quick because you probably kind of know.
And like that attention to visual storytelling is so important, especially in animation where you have like so many options and you can show literally whatever you want on the screen.
Yeah.
And you compare it to something like the new Wreck-It Ralph or whatever. I try not to be too negative here, but like that movie's pretty like not interesting or fun. Like it's just like, here's this again, and I don't think it really did anything like interesting visually or.
No, yeah, it blows all the other animated movies that came out in 2018 out of the water.
And that nuance with Miles' character is like not, it's not just Miles either. Peter and Gwen Stacy, who in cinema especially, like her only contribution to cinema is dying. Yeah, is getting fridged, right? In comics, largely too.
Yeah.
Other than her Spider-Woman series, like the Spider-Gwen stuff, like she's basically the second Uncle Ben, you know, and to see her get like such an awesome treatment in this movie, her and Miles, like it's really great as a Spider-Man fan.
Yeah, they really like flesh out all the three main Spider people, Miles, Peter, and Gwen, and they even like kind of flesh out a little bit at the very beginning. Chris Pine is in the movie.
Yeah.
As Miles is
Spider-Man.
As Spider-Man, like Peter Parker.
Yeah, and
then he gets killed.
Yeah, really killed, and I was kind of
really
surprised
killed.
at that. I knew they were going to kill him because that's how Miles' origin story works, but
and
like,
then they just show Kingpin coming up and just killing.
And that moment is another great soundtrack moment.
Yeah.
When that song plays or whatever. And like, this is the first movie to even broach the idea of killing Peter Parker. And the fact that they not only do it, but then do it in such a way that is like so emotionally resonant with a Peter that you've only known for 5 minutes at that point. It's so fantastic.
Yeah. I just love how like self-aware the movie is too.
Yeah.
Like, it knows it's a Spider-Man movie, so it's going to lean into that. It knows it's like a comic book movie, so it's going to lean into that. There's like a couple moments throughout that are like, we'll reference the outside world or reference the fact that they're in a comic book movie. And I like those little mini jokes.
And like, that self-awareness lends itself to the writing super well, especially for Peter, who I think is like the best cinematic Peter Parker we've ever had. Like, when you ask some people like, who's your favorite Batman, and they go, Kevin Conroy is my favorite Batman, I used to like be like, okay, come on, like that, come on.
He's the animated.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's be real here.
But now that's how I feel about Spider-Man. Like, the 40-year-old schlubby divorced Spider-Man is my favorite Spider-Man.
Even like peppy, do-goods, like, has it all Spider-Man, Chris Pine, I still think he's the best version of that Spider-Man.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's so weird that they got these two dudes who just, like, especially Chris Pine, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you would never imagine Chris Pine being Spider-Man.
No, I never thought. Like,
But now I want it.
had no idea he was going to be in that movie. Like, and I almost like refused to believe it the first time I heard him speak, and I was like, is that Chris Pine?
Legitimately, I did not know it was Chris Pine until the second time I saw the movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because it came out. I saw it a week early before
Yeah.
we left for break or whatever. I went to a preview showing or whatever, and I saw it. It was fantastic. I was glowing about it. I was raving about it. And then on the way home, it's like an hour and a half drive home, and we listened to the Spider-Man Christmas album probably on repeat like the whole way. And I was like, Chris Pine? Why is he on this album? And then, that's how that happened.
You discovered that Chris
Yeah,
Pine
I
was
discovered that Chris Pine.
Spider-Man.
And I was like, well, now I got an excuse to see it again.
And then Haley Steinfeld is Gwen.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Fantastic.
Great casting. Nicolas Cage. If you've seen our manager review, you'll know that I'm not the biggest Nicolas Cage fan. Loved him. I thought he was perfect.
The match tip joke or whatever,
Yeah.
like he hits. They knew exactly how to use Nicolas Cage, and they utilized him perfectly.
And it works. Like, my favorite jokes in it's like when they're in the basement and like we are first introduced to Spider-Man Noir and the wind's blowing and everybody's like, how's there wind down here? We're in a basement.
Yeah,
And he's like fully aware, like the wind follows.
The basement is like a really great, another really great thing they do with like Miles being from a different universe where everything's different.
Mm-hmm.
So like Aunt May has this like spider cave underneath her house, and she knows Peter's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
When like the 616 Spider-Man, the Jake Johnson Spider-Man,
Mhm.
like he didn't know, Aunt May didn't know he was Spider-Man probably, and she died not knowing that. And the Doc Ock reveal is like something really special.
Oh yeah, like also Peter had to bury Aunt May as well as.
Yeah, and that just lends so much nuance to the scene where he goes back to her thing. Look, it's perfect. There's so many little moments like that for every character. Gwen gets one in the dining room scene.
Yeah.
We're like, that's not your MJ.
Yeah.
When she's talking to her Uncle Ben, essentially, she's like,
Yeah.
it's never them. It looks just like them, but it's never them. Like,
Because in that, like, Haley Steinfeld's Peter is the lizard, right?
mm-hmm.
And-
But it's Peter.
Yeah,
Peter's-
but Peter is.
and he dies.
Yeah.
Fucking phenomenal. I'm sorry, I swore.
It's so good.
Um,
And then Miles has his Uncle Ben moment. I actually was kind of surprised there
that they killed Prowler.
that they killed Prowler.
Uh-huh.
Miles, so like Aaron
We're in spoilers. If they,
something. Yeah, I was trying to remember his last name though.
Aaron.
Yeah, Prowler, ends up being Miles' uncle. That's a reveal if you didn't know already.
He's in Donald Glover plays him in
Yeah,
in
in
Far From
Spider-Man
Home.
Homecoming
Yeah.
and Far From Home. I'm
Whatever.
assuming.
Yeah.
That's something I knew going in, and I was like, oh yeah, I can't wait for the reveal. But then they killed him off, and I was like, oh my gosh, they did another Uncle Ben thing. His uncles died, because I was assuming that they were gonna kill off Miles' dad.
Mm-hmm. That'd be weird. I don't know. Okay, never mind. But killing Miles' dad is, I think, a not great character choice.
No, just I.
What was even my train of thought there?
Rewinding it. Prowler had his Uncle Ben moment.
Yeah, okay.
He gets shot and dies, and that leads up a great moment for Miles' dad to come in and be like, oh my gosh.
And the moment where all of them come into his room, all the spider people, and they're like,
Mhm.
hey, he's like, you guys don't understand. He's like, no, we do understand. Because we all have been through this. It's such a fantastic, not just understanding of Spider-Man, but then like being like, hey, we're telling this story with all these spider people, and like making them all seem sympathetic and understanding them and giving them all characterization, even the lame joke ones.
Yeah. It will. I think it'll win the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature.
Oh yeah, no doubt. No doubt, no doubt, no doubt.
I think it'll win.
Yeah. So
Final thoughts. Would you recommend people go see this movie?
I would cautiously, I would recommend that people go see Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Cautiously.
Because you'll fall in love and you'll go see it 5 more times.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, that might be the only reason not to go see it in theaters, is because then you're going to want to see it in theaters a multitude of times.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it's perfect.
Well, I think that does it for us here on the 4th episode of Stubtown. Welcome to Stubtown. And with that, goodbye from Stubtown.
Go see Spider-Man.